You're listening to Stories Behind the Songs with Chris Blair. For more information, check out chrisblair.com. We are back in Nashville, and gosh, I'm so excited for today's guest. I've known him for a long time, and he is an ACM award-winning and Grammy-nominated songwriter and producer. Over the last 20-plus years, his songs have been recorded by George Strait, Luke Bryan, Darius Rucker, Reba McEntire, Blake Shelton, Rascal Flatts, Jake Owen, and many more. His credits include 2003's ACM Song of the Year for I'm Moving On with Rascal Flatts. He's also got Reba's hit I'm a Survivor and Blake Shelton's Nobody But Me. Man, so pumped to welcome Phillip White. How are you, buddy?
Man, I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, dude, we go way back. We were talking earlier. I think you were the very first round, or at least one of the first rounds to play at our second location, which was in Cummins Station back in 2008. I guess would have been. So
yeah, crazy.
Yeah, man. I'm just so excited to dive into all of your hits and success. Let's just jump in to I'm Moving On. Man, it takes me back to the early days when I first moved to Nashville. Back when Tin Roof would do that Tuesday night jam, and it was D. Vincent Williams, James Dean Hicks, and Dylan Dixon. And I would go watch them, and that's the first time that when I moved to town, the first time I ever got to experience true songwriters sharing their stories, and that song was written by you.
Yes.
So let's dive into that one.
Man, that song just turned 25 years last.
It's crazy, week. And it seems it's one of those. It's just that is so good that is going to last forever.
It was one of those lessons and days that I'll never forget, because me and Dee Dee never really wrote before. Never really met, and maybe in passing or whatever, but he showed up to cancel because his wife had just left him, and he shows up, and I could tell he hadn't had any sleep or whatever, and he said, man, since we hadn't wrote before, I figure I owed you the respect to come, but man, I can't do this today. My wife left, and he said, I'm just trying to get through the day. And I wrote that first verse about my wife at the time moving to Nashville with her 4-year-old daughter, who's now my daughter. And anyway, we wrote it in 15 minutes. I just said, "Sit down, man. Let's
hold
work
on.
through this."
I've never heard this part of the story.
Yeah.
So the whole song "I'm Moving On" you wrote in about 15
minutes. I've just played him the verse, and anyway, he sat down at the piano, and it was literally, I'd say a line, he'd say a line. It was almost in real time.
Gosh,
and
man.
And it was hilarious when he hits that mod. That mod is so different. It was actually kind of like a mistake, but it worked. And he's like, and I'm like, no, that's cool. And so like 15 minutes later, we had it. And
wow.
It was weird because I didn't know much at the time, but I knew we had something special. And it's funny, I was at Murrah Music at the time. That's where we wrote it. And I got my buddy Jimmy Melton, who plays lead guitar for Jamie Johnson now. He came in and recorded. We had a little lead track, and he recorded just an acoustic version. And he said, "You got something there." And I said, "Yeah, I know." And literally it was cut within a couple of weeks.
Man, so, doesn't happen like that.
No, typically. not very often, but it was a special day. And it's funny because it was a blessing and a curse, because me and Dee has gotten together multiple times since then, and it's like, where do you go from that song? Everybody wants us to do another one of those, and they don't come around every day.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, it was a special day for sure.
So talk about. The song came out so quickly. Obviously, a lot of emotion and inspiration behind it, and then to get cut a couple weeks after that is also just unheard of. How did it even get to Rascal?
My plugger at the time was Paul Compton.
Okay.
And anyway, he took the word tape in to a meeting with Mark Bright. And it was like a pluggers group meeting. And Mark said, absolutely no ballads. And Paul had the gumption enough to play the word tape anyway. And he said the whole room kind of shut down. And Mark said, well, you just made a liar out of me. They can like it now or like it later, but we're cutting it.
Man.
So, yeah, it was pretty special.
Yeah. And then it wins the ACM Song of the Year.
Yeah, it was nuts because they had 2 number 1 hits, their first 2 singles, but they hadn't really sold a ton of records or anything. And anyway, they were looking for a third single, and they were absolutely not going to put Moving On out because it was slow, it was sad, blah, blah, blah. But anyway, Jerry House one morning, he heard the song, and Jerry was the morning show here on WSIX. And anyway, he played it once, and the phones lit up so much, he played it 8 times in a row. And they went from selling, a few thousand to like 40,000, mainly in Nashville that week. And then they decided to put it out.
Wow.
And it became ACM Song of the Year. So.
Yeah. Yeah. Man, that's great. And that's just a testament to, sometimes the guys up in the office, they don't know.
Right.
And gosh, man, like, the days when we had albums, which we still do, but not as much. It's more of a singles game now. Yeah. And the fact that Jerry would go through and listen to all the ones that aren't marked to be singles.
Right. So.
Man, what a blessing.
Yeah, it was a huge blessing. Changed my life.
Yeah.
So.
You want to play a little bit of it?
Yeah.
This is I'm Moving On by Rascal Flatts.
I've dealt with my ghost and I faced all my demons. Finally content with the past I regret. I found you find strength in your moments of weakness. For once I'm at peace with myself. I've been burdened with blame, trapped in the past for too long. I'm moving on. I've lived in this place and I know all the faces. Each one is different, but they're all the same. They mean me no harm, but it's time that I face it. They'll never allow me to change. But I never dreamed home would end up where I don't belong. I'm moving on.
Man. So good, man.
Thanks, bud.
It is one of those songs that, dude, I remember, when I used to, play down at Broadway with my band and, tour all over.
Yeah.
And it's just one of those songs that was just always in our set list to
awesome,
cover.
Man.
And it's just one of those that I can't believe 25 years ago, man. It's
25 years. And it's been crazy because I didn't really realize the effect. I guess I did, but man, there's been so many people come up to me and say that song changed my life. Or my little girl was paralyzed and she was 8 years old and she took her first steps to that song. And there's the stories are just, hundreds of thousands of them.
Yeah.
And I realized then in my mid-20s, I'm like, well, that's why I do this for.
Yeah. Yeah. Love it, man. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Let's talk about I'm a Survivor.
Mm-hmm.
How did that song come about?
Okay, this is a fun story too. It's God's got a sense of humor because like literally almost every one of my cuts and bigger songs in my career has been a God thing,
Yeah.
you know. And so I wrote this song with my buddy Shelby Kennedy, and Shelby had been in A&R for years and years, and I was actually going to play songs for Flat's second album. And I go in to meet with him, and we're sitting there talking, and maybe 3 minutes into the meeting, he said, "Man, I just found out, I'm not going to be here after today. I just kind of got let go." And but I was thinking, man, maybe he said I wrote a few songs back in the day, and even had a Ray Charles cut. But I was saying maybe me and you could get together and write, and I can kind of get back in that mode. And I said, yeah. So he shows up, and we write this song. And I had a demo session the next day and put it on the end of a demo session. And then Shelby's wife's real good friends with Reba, and Cindy Owen, who worked for Reba at the time, sent it to her in New York. She was up there doing Annie Get Your Gun. And so I left to go fishing with my little brother, and I get this phone call on my Sprint flip phone at the time. And anyway, it was Reba, and she said, "Hey, I just heard this song, and I'm about to come back to Nashville and do greatest hits, and I think this song would be perfect for my greatest hits album. And I'm also about to head to LA to do a pilot for a TV show."
Yeah.
And I think it would be a great theme song for that. And so that was literally the first song that me and Shelby wrote.
Wow.
And we did it on a Friday afternoon.
Yeah.
Just kind of one of those, you're not thinking anything about it other than getting together with a friend, and you're not expecting to write a hit, but sometimes you just show up,
Yeah.
and it happens. So.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it goes out on her 20th greatest hits,
Mm-hmm.
and the theme song for the show. I mean, and then it's also that song is big in both country and pop.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, was that your first kind of crossover song too?
Yeah, it sort of was. Moving on, kind of.
Well, yeah, that's true.
Kind of crossed over too, but yeah, it was crazy. It was a Sears commercial. It was all over the TV, and it was it was definitely a surreal moment. In fact, kind of the rest of the story. Back in 2021, one of my best friends and heroes, Mac Davis, passed away. And me and Jill, we flew out to LA for a celebration of life, and we pull in there at Bel Air Country Club, and right beside us, Reba and Rex pull in. And so I hug her neck. I hadn't seen her in a long time, and she said, "Hey, have you seen what's happened to your song?" I said, "No, I have no. What are you talking about?" She said, "It's went viral on TikTok." I said, "Really?" She said, "Yeah. 60 million people this week has filmed themselves doing chores around the house, and they're using your song as the backdrop." And she said, "When I leave here, I'm going back and I'm going to do 2 more versions of it." So she did a ballad version and a dance version. And anyway, she said, "Just so you know, like, this new rebirth of this song has kind of made it one of my biggest songs of my career."
Wow.
So it's been crazy, and it's been a huge blessing for me too.
Yeah.
So.
Man. How long did it take you to write that one?
Maybe an hour and a half.
See, even that's crazy. Yeah.
But it's been my experience most of the time when they just fall out.
We've never written together.
No, we
So
should.
I'm sensing a theme when you write for the first time with somebody.
Yeah. That's it, man. That's crazy.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Let's do it.
All right.
Let's. I want to talk about a couple other. You've got so many great songs. I want to. I want to talk about a couple others, and then kind of go into how you got started in Nashville and kind of early
Yeah.
days, and then maybe end up with some advice for writers and kind of how the
Absolutely.
industry has changed so much. Since we moved to town.
Mm-hmm.
But let's go into Nobody But Me with Blake Shelton. Another big smash of yours.
Yeah, I wrote that with Sean Kent, and anyway, it's funny because Blake was literally the first person I met when I moved to town in
Was he?
'93. He moved here the same day or within a couple days.
Yeah.
And he became my best friend at the time. And in fact, the first show I ever did, Writers Round I ever did, it was me and Blake and Joe Nichols at the
Oh, wow.
Douglas Corner, and none of us had anything.
Yeah.
And we all had mullets.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was pretty neat, and to have your buddy recorded, and it was it went number one. I think it was one of the most played songs of the year that year, and it was special to me because Blake, like I said, was my best friend when I came to town, and then I didn't pitch it to him; somebody else pitched it to him.
Oh, that's even
And
better.
so he like took it on merit, didn't even know I was a co-writer on it. And then hell, it was looking back when my first wife Amber was pregnant, 9 months pregnant. Blake helped us move in to our house in Kingston Springs, and him and my dad, and then I co-wrote the song. He sang at his and Miranda's wedding, so we had such a huge history together.
Yeah.
And I love that guy so much, and it's cool to hear your buddy sing your song.
Yeah,
So
I bet. Yeah. Where did the idea come from that day?
nobody but me. I had the idea, and I went over to Sean's house in White Bluff, Tennessee, in the one evening, and man, I said I got this idea. I think I threw out the title, and anyway, he started playing the dun 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 dun, and about an hour and a half, we had that, and so it was funny because like with Shelby and D, we wrote like one song, and then we tried to write again. But after you write something that big together, it's kind of hard to go on from there. But me and Sean, remained co-writers. We've been working together for 20-25 years, and I
Yeah.
still love working with him. So
Yeah. Man, you're making me feel bad about all the days that I go into a writer's room at 11 o'clock and don't leave until 3 or 4. It's like
it's funny back then, man. It's my stepsons, my sons Rocky and Grady Block,
Yeah.
and they're both doing great in town. But I see them working, and I was like, man, I remember when I used to be like that.
Yeah.
Like start working at midnight and go to 8 a.m. and I can't do that anymore.
Yeah. We had Rocky on the podcast several months ago.
Yeah, I watched that,
maybe
man.
close to a
It's
year
great,
ago.
yeah.
Yeah. He man, I've watched him grow up. And
Yeah.
it's pretty cool, man.
Yeah.
So you want to play a little bit of that one?
Yeah. Yeah. Don't waste your time looking over your shoulder. Those loves from the past ain't getting no closer. When I look at my future, girl, you're all I can see. Don't go loving on nobody but me. Nobody but me gonna love you like you ought to be loved on. Nobody but me gonna cry if you up and leave. You can do what you want to, but I'm asking pretty please, honey. Don't go loving on nobody but me.
Yeah, man. That's awesome.
Thank you.
All right, let's hit one more. Man, I remember watching American Idol and watching Scotty just keep going and keep going and keep going. And I'll be honest, when I first when the show first started, I wasn't a huge fan.
Yeah.
And I thought it was a little awkward. And Scotty, if you're listening, I love you, brother. But it was one of those things. It was like I remembered watching him through, but it was also that transformation was so big, and he deserved to win that. By the time he got to the end, I was like, man, this guy's got grit.
Yeah.
He's got his stage presence, and man, and now look what he's done, and just continue to go. So let's dive into the trouble with girls and how it ended up with Scotty after his American Idol win.
Yeah, it was crazy. I tell this story. My office at the time was right above my living room in my house in Kansas Springs, and my son, who he's now in Fairbanks, Alaska. He's been in the 11th Airborne in the last 4 years, and happy Veterans Day, Jackson. But
that's right.
Anyway, he came and got me one night. I was up there working, and he said, "Dad, you got to come see this." And I'm like, "Okay." So I put my guitar down. I walked downstairs, and he said, "Look at this kid," and it was Scotty. And he said, "Well, what do you think?" And Jackson just loved him. He knew right from the start. And I said, "Well," I said, "Yeah, man, he's got a good voice, but he kind of looks like Howdy Doody," which he kind of did at the time, admitted. And then he won the whole thing, moved to town, and he cut 4 of my songs, 2 on that first album and 2 since. But I think he's beautiful now. And Mark Bright, who produced I'm Moving On, heard Trouble with Girls. I wrote that with Chris Tompkins. And anyway, I sent the word tape to Mark, and they ended up cutting it, and it was one of his biggest hits. In fact, he met his wife. Well, he was going to school with his wife, but they weren't together at the time. They both were in high school. They wasn't boyfriend and girlfriend. But I think that video, she was playing his love interest in that video. And so anyway, I like to take credit for putting them together.
Yeah, there you go. I love it. How long did that one take you to write?
Man, it probably took us 2.5, 3 hours. And
okay,
then,
we're back to normal.
Yeah, and then we ended up doing some work because that hook, I knew we had something really cool with that hook, but it wasn't landing just right. So me and Tompkins talked maybe 4 or 5 times after we wrote it till we got the trouble with girls is nobody loves trouble as much as me.
Yeah.
And so anyway, yeah, we did. That one took a little work. So.
Do you do a lot of that? Like, when you finish a song one day, do you go live with it and then go back, or is it more of like, hey, I don't want to leave the room until I feel good about it?
Yeah, you know what? I grew up in Muscle Shoals, Alabama, outside of Muscle Shoals. And so I learned to write from Spooner Oldham and Donnie Fritz. And I say, man, I learned the craft of songwriting in Nashville, but in Muscle Shoals, I learned to prick my finger and bleed on paper. And so, all those guys down there are so soulful. It's more about what you say instead of how you say it.
Yeah.
And if it feels good, it's right. There really ain't any rules to it,
Yeah.
And so most of the time, I believe in just letting the magic happen, let it fall out. But after I got to Nashville, I let the magic happen, let it fall out, and then 2 or 3 days later, when I'm not remembering, not tied to anything, I'll listen back to it and really try to tighten it up.
Yeah.
So,
have you recorded at Fame?
Yeah, I write there now. I'm writing for Fame, and I use Rick Hall's office upstairs. Man. I write songs with me and James LeBlanc write, and then we've also been producing Colin Stove for BMG, and we produced Them Dirty Roses. We worked with Kenny Wayne Shepherd down there, wrote his last couple of blues albums. So yeah, it's a magical place.
Yeah. Man, I've
And
never been there. I've wanted to
you
go.
got to come
I need to
down.
come down.
Yeah.
Yeah. Rob
Maybe you
Williford.
can come down and we'll ride in Rick's office.
Man, yeah,
Me, you,
dude.
and James.
Yeah, that'd be great.
So,
yeah. Rob Williford, a good buddy of mine, and he, man, he bought a house a couple years ago down there, and he's down there all the time. And just talks about
man. It's kind of took off again, man, down there, and it's really been awesome to see. I think there's like 8 up and running studios, and Rob and man, there's been several people from Nashville moved down there. Dubois got a house on the lake down there. Billy Lawson redid Wishbone, and it's a rocking studio now. And sound is always up and running. And then Gary Nichols, from the Steel Drivers, he's down there working at Ivy Manor, and it's a great studio, and it's really awesome.
Yeah. Man, yeah, I'm gonna take you up on that. I've got to get out there and
it's
check
a
it out.
special place, man. You feel it walking in because it still looks like it did in 1967 when they did all this stuff, and then you think about Aretha and the Allman Brothers formed in B, and it's really like the history of rock and roll and the soundtrack of our life was made down there.
Yeah, that's so cool. All right, let's talk about the early days. You just talked about you grew up in North Alabama, and what got you into music in the first place?
Man, I wrote my first song when I was like a freshman in high school on the piano, and anyway, I started that, and then I ended up entering the talent show in high school, and I played a song I wrote, and Rita Snyder, who worked for Columbia CBS at the time, was the judge, and she came back and she said, "Man, you're awesome. You're an awesome writer." And she said, "I think there's a guy just moved back from California, moved back to Rogersville. They used to meet, and it was Spooner. And man, he ended up being such a huge mentor, introduced me to Donnie Fritz, and I started riding with them cats. And when I, kind of got out of community college and everything, Muscle Shoals had dried up. At the time, there wasn't any work. So I drove my mom's 93 Taurus to Nashville. And I was born here, and then moved to Alabama when I was 3. And so I grew up in Muscle Shoals, but I always felt a tie with Nashville. And so I moved up here and ended up getting my first publishing deal with Jerry and Brown.
And that was 93, right?
93, yeah. And so, yeah, it was crazy. And I got my first job, and they hired me as a plugger, and which I think was so valuable because I got to realize from a writer's standpoint that it wasn't the plugger's job to get me cuts. It was their job to get the company cuts. So the quality of the songs I wrote had to be better than everybody else's.
Yeah.
And so that was huge.
Yeah. What do you think? I mean, it's changed a lot. I mean, you just think of, gosh, from 93 until now, but what do you think was your biggest win early days where you were like, okay, I'm going to keep doing this?
Man, I think it had to be moving on when that happened, and I'd struggled for 4 or 5 years, barely making any money on a draw and everything, and then when that happened, and we ended up in Vegas, winning that Song of the Year, I'm like, man, this is easy. And so I'm gonna stay. I knew then. Okay, I got a career. But the main thing that happened to me, I think one night I kind of reached the point where I was tired of being broke, and I was thinking about going
Yeah.
back to Alabama, and I stopped by the Bluebird, and it was Carole King, Gary Burr, uh, Jim Photoglow, and Matresa, I think. And I was so inspired by them that night. I'm like, I can't do anything else but this. I
Yeah.
don't want to do anything else but this.
Yeah.
So,
Man, you hear, I've heard it from before I even moved here, and I moved here in 2003.
mm,
So the year that I'm moving on was Song of the Year.
yeah,
Um, and I mean, you hear that Nashville's a 10-year town.
hmm
From the time that you moved here until moving on, that was 10
yeah,
years. And it's what do you think the difference is now with everything out there with socials and everything like that?
yeah. I think, man, it's the internet and streaming and all that stuff has been one of the best and one of the worst things that's
Yeah,
happened to the music business. And but I also know that to be successful in what you're doing, you gotta like put a pulse on the people. And I still believe that the people's right. The
yeah,
audience is right, and to have that access to where you can get that many streams and everything. And it's funny because there's a lot of older writers and everything. I remember the generation before us when we were like in our 20s and stuff.
mm-hmm.
The generation before us is, oh man, the music business went to hell. It's not as good when we were there. And there's a lot of that goes on with my generation too now. I'm seeing it among my friends and stuff. But I've got this seat with my sons Rocky and Grady. I'm watching them do their thing, and they're riding it big loud and with Hank Compton, who was my plugger's son that got moving on cut, and Jamie McLaughlin's in that crew, and this Pat McLaughlin's son that I've known since he was 9 or 10, and man, they're writing really, really great songs.
Yeah,
And so I think it absolutely is still true. It all begins with a song.
yeah,
And you still got to get that song. And I think, the way you get them cut has changed. It used to be like you go into an A&R, and if you had the best song in town, you get cut. Now I think it depends on, it's a lot about lobbying and getting in the right room. But hell, it's always been political.
yeah,
And it may be more political now, but I think the quality of what you do as a writer still matters.
yeah, yeah. How do you keep? I mean, after over 2 decades of doing this, how do you keep inspired? With and especially with the change of like the the '90s country to the early 2000s when you
Yeah.
moved here. Then we got into the bro country, and kind of a shift back now. And like what keeps you going?
For me now, after I went through my divorce, I moved back to the Shoals area for 4 or 5 years and lived on the lake. And I signed with Fame, and I told myself, I'm going to do what I love. And so that's when I started, writing and producing with Them Dirty Roses, who's a great Southern rock band. They're out there killing it. And writing with Kenny Wayne Shepherd, spending a month doing blues. And
Yeah,
that's kind of what's kept me going, because I always come back to my first love, which is country and R&B. And so I try to mix the two as much as I can, and working with soulful singers. Yeah, it's to me, it's all about being able to get in the room and making the most of the opportunity and showing up. It's like instead of writing, I used to write 3 appointments a day back when I first moved here. Because
I guess when you're writing a song
Nessler,
in 15 minutes to an hour, you can do that.
yeah, well, Martin Nessler was across the alley from me, and I knew he was writing it.
Yeah.
And then Craig Wiseman was right next door. I knew he was there, killing it. So it's like, it kind of became a game because I would look out to see if their trucks were in the parking lot, and if their trucks were, I wouldn't let myself leave.
Man,
I'm like, I've got to, as a mental game to them. I don't know if they're watching this like I am, but I'm going to be the first one here and the last one to leave. And I can't do that anymore. I'm a more of a 2 to 3 day a week guy.
Yeah.
One session a day, and that's about it. But so I'm not writing as much, but I feel like what I'm writing is better than I ever have.
Yeah. So. What kind of advice would you give a new young writer just moving to town?
I think watching Rocky and Grady and Jamie and Hank, they're busting their ass.
Yeah.
And people don't realize it. They're killing it, but when the phone rings, they got to answer, and they got to show up if it's 9 a.m. or midnight when the artist feels like writing. And my advice is, don't come here and expecting to make it on just your talent. You actually got to roll your sleeves up and put in the work. And it's not a 8-hour a day job. It's 24/7. When the opportunity presents itself, you got to step up.
Yeah, that's great advice. Yeah, I mean it's the I guess the difference is like, what would you say for building that camp up? Because it is, you get to that point where you get those calls that it is a 24/7 kind of deal. But when we first got here, it was like we'd all the riders would hang out at Tin Roof on Demonbreun, and then it's shifted over to Midtown, and we were at Red Door or Losers or something like that. And now it's like everything is so commercialized, and there's not these secret pockets as much anymore of just the it's hard. That's what I hear from, we've got so many great servers and bartenders over at the listening room that are truly great songwriters that are kind of new to town, and they're like, how do I meet people?
It was so different in our day because we were all on these 3 streets. Yeah. And it was a small town in a big city.
Yeah.
And we all knew each other. We all hung out. Now the business is so spread out. Some of us in Berry Hill, some of us in still on Music Row, but some of it's in Hendersonville or Donaldson or everything. Yeah. So it's like, and these guys, we used to have to come into the office to write. These guys have got their studios at home, so you're driving over to East Nashville, and it's different. It reminds me more of L.A. Back in the day. It's spread out, but I will say this, and what I've realized with these younger cats is, it's not our town anymore, but it's theirs. And so that's all they know. So it's still magical.
That's true. Them. Yeah. Yeah.
So, and the listening room is one of those places they go to see their friends and hear what their buddies are writing and stuff. And that's pretty awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. That's, I appreciate that. It's, we love doing it for that reason, and it's fun. So, man, I appreciate you sharing some of your story, and I mean we've known each other for a long time, and it's always great to have you,
thank you.
Play the stage, and I've been excited to kind of dig into a little bit more of the stories behind the songs with you.
Well, Ben, I appreciate you having me, and I'm so proud of you and what you've accomplished, and look forward to seeing what's next.
Yeah, thank you, man. Always end on this question. So if you can go back to Muscle Shoals, to 8-year-old Phillip, what advice would you give yourself today?
And I was like, I would say, man, can you believe where this guitar is taking us? 'Cause it's such a small town and never went anywhere. And then, like, I've been all over the world. But I would just say, man, follow your heart and, you know, do it all over again. I wouldn't change anything.
Yeah.
So
It's great.
it's worth the ride. It's all about the ride, and it's all about the friendships we've made coming up. And you know, I tell the younger riders all the time, man, enjoy this time because it's about the journey, and it's so much more fun. The early days, like, because I feel like us group of songwriters, we're more like military families. Where we like eat Thanksgiving at each other's houses, we, you know, share chili or whatever, and we become family because nobody really is from here.
Yeah.
Everybody's from somewhere else, and so yeah, that's to me, I would say it's all about the journey.
Yeah. Love it.
Yeah.
Dude, love you, bro.
Love you too, man. Thank you.
Yeah, it's been a blast. And thank you, everybody, for listening. This has been another episode of Stories Behind the Songs. You've been listening to Phillip White, and we will see you next time. This has been an episode of Stories Behind the Songs with Chris Blair. For more information after the show, head over to chrisblair.com. That's where you can find information on these episodes, trailer notes, video links, all kinds of great stuff. Also, make sure to leave us a great rating on iTunes, like and follow us on Spotify, YouTube, wherever you listen to podcasts. Leave us a comment, let us know what you think. I really hope that you think this show is awesome, and we really appreciate the love and support. I promise to keep gathering great content and continuing to sit down with more amazing songwriters and artists as we grow. Thanks so much for listening. Thanks for the support. We'll see you next time.